JHK here for My MMA News, and I am joined by newly signed UFC bantamweight Jesse Strader. Jesse, how does that sound, man? UFC bantamweight.
Yeah, it sounds right. That's what it sounds like. It sounds right. I've been
Nice.
waiting a long time to hear that.
For sure, man. Let's take it way back, man. I know you played sports growing up. You've been an athlete all your life. You became a fan watching MMA. You wrestled in high school. Talk about that transition from wrestling to MMA, and also where did you first start training MMA?
All right, man. So I started wrestling in high school at Lancaster High School, and then I transitioned. See, like my whole goal when I started wrestling was always it wasn't to wrestle. I wrestled because all the guys in the UFC at the time were all the guys who were world champs who were dominating were wrestlers. So I was like, all right, man, I can't afford to do these expensive MMA gyms right now, but they offer wrestling at the school. So I started with that. And then after kind of showing my parents like, hey, I'm dedicated to this, like I'm real serious about this. They were like, all right. And then they kind of put me in like a jiu-jitsu gym and they helped me out with that. And then an MMA gym. So I started in high school. A lot of people don't really know that I really did start training in high school, but I just tell everybody I was wrestling in high school, really. But yeah, so basically all that athletic competition, I had that fire in me. I was getting into scraps when I was little all the time, so it was kind of like it was a really easy transition. I knew what I wanted to do, and we just did it, and it just worked out.
For sure, man. And back then, the wrestlers were the champions, but isn't it a trip how it has evolved since then? Like wrestlers are still champions, but there's guys out there that are strikers that have great takedown defense. It's just evolved.
Israel Adesanya is
Yeah.
a great example of that. Yeah, man. That's a great point. Like I've seen the evolution of that, and it's like really good. And then I see these little kids now in the MMA gyms, and I'm like, dude, these guys are in trouble in the future because these little kids are like little killers, man. They're good everywhere. So it's gonna be interesting to see in like 10 years even.
For sure. Now, when you started training at first, did it take some time for you to actually get a fight? And I know you had some amateur fights, but was it hard to get amateur fights at the same time?
When I first started, it wasn't hard at all.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started 0-0, I think I fought like twice within 2 weeks. Like it was easy to get the amateur fights. It was towards the end of my amateur career that it started getting hard getting the amateurs. But at first, especially in California, people don't know this. California is probably one of the three toughest states to compete in MMA in the United States. And so there's a lot of competition. So there's fights all the time, all throughout, up and down Northern, Southern California. So it was easy at first.
And then you made your debut in 2017. Why did it take you so long to make your pro debut?
So the goal was to get to 10 MMA fights. Like that's what kind of my coach had in mind. Like, okay, let's get to 10 MMA fights. That's a good amount of experience. And I think I was at like 6-1, and I had just beaten 7-1. I had just beaten the number one ranked MMA fighter in California at 145, a weight class up. So once I beat him, there was nobody else taking the fight. So I was sitting there stuck at 8 fights, and I was trying to get those 2, and it got to the point where we would get a fight, they would pull out. The venue would burn down. We had opponents. Yeah, like seriously, we had a venue burn down that canceled the fight one time. And it was just thing after thing, fighters pulling out, fighters claiming injuries, fighters just pulling out. And then I was like, dude, I can't do this no more. Nobody wants to fight. It's time to go pro. I'm making the call. You know what I mean?
For sure. And then you've made a good, decent run as a pro. Now you're making your UFC debut. Talk about how this fight got put together, because it seemed like it was only, last week that they announced it?
Yeah, they called me on Wednesday. My manager, Julian, shout out to Julian, Upgrade Management. He called me on Wednesday, and he was like, we were already expecting a UFC fight or another fight. So it was like we were looking for fights. And then so I was staying ready. I was training 2-3 times a day. And then he called me Wednesday. He was like, hey, he said, He's like, "Are you sitting down?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Good, we got the call." And I was like, "UFC?" He was like, "UFC next Saturday." I was like, "Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready." So it happened just like that. They announced it the next day, made it official. I signed the contract, and here we are, man. We're well on our way.
Yeah, and when you look at the record, you missed out on pretty much you missed out on 2020 just competing wise. What was the training like for you during that time? Because I know California had some weird restrictions in each like county.
Yeah, dude, California is crazy, man. California politics, whack. But anyways, aside from that, I never stopped training. I was supposed to fight last March, and so I did a camp dude, I was training since last January up to March to the camp for the camp. And then that fight, they canceled it a week before, not even a week, 3 days before I was supposed to fly out to Mexico City. And then I was like, "Oh, dude, I was gutted on that one because I put a lot of effort in that one, and then a lot of time, a lot of money. And then I was like, okay, kind of gutted. And then, but I still kept training, hopeful. They shut down, they quarantined everybody. So at first we were kind of just at home training, doing our own thing. And then I was like, man, I can't train like this. There's no way I could get better like this. I gotta just chance it, take the risk. And I went back to my gym, and we just kind of had private sessions there. And then after that, they told me, okay, you're going to fight in September in Miami. And then I was like, cool. I got ready for that. And that, again, COVID shut that down. So I was like, still training for these fights. And then that's when I think after that, I signed with Upgrade Management. And then we just started like looking for fights, opportunities, whether it was smaller promotions or UFC last minute replacements. It was anything, because I was already ready. I had trained the entire year. I did not skip out, miss out. And so it was like, dude, like time's ticking. I'm ready to go.
So the silver lining in that is that you did have fights, even though you didn't fight. You went through the camps. You stayed ready throughout the whole year to actually have a fight. So that's the silver lining for you, right? So some guys, they didn't even have anything going on.
100%. I always kept that hope. And I trained like I had a fight. So it was like, that is the silver lining for sure. Definitely. I feel like I got better during that time. Whereas a lot of guys might have just took the time off.
Yeah. And a lot of guys sat there and gained like 20 pounds. You know how it is.
I've seen the quarantine 15's like 30 now. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Hey, myself, I'm getting my weight back down right now, man. I gained some too, so it is what it is.
I can't hate on anyone, man. They tell you not to leave your house. You got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah. Now, Montel Jackson, man, he's pretty deep into his UFC career. A guy that is on the cusp of the rankings. When they proposed the name, what ran through your mind?
Before they even gave me his name, I was preparing for a UFC fight, and I was already telling myself, there is no easy UFC fight. There's no such thing. That doesn't exist. That's the top of the line. That's as high as it gets. So the name wasn't really a factor, but of course he's tough. I was expecting that, and he's good.
Yeah, he's definitely good. He's, it's no secret that he's a good striker. He can wrestle with the best of them. When you break him down skill for skill, what do you see?
I see, yeah, he's a rangy southpaw. He's a little taller for the weight class. But and then also, just like you said, he can wrestle with the best of them. He's got good takedown defense, and I saw he's got a submission victory by Darce. And it's all good, man. It's all to be expected. If you're not training in every area of this MMA game, then you just don't belong in the UFC.
When people go back and watch your fights, man, the body, like the shots to the body are just beautiful, man. How you hook and dig deep into those. Is that something that you trained since like the beginning, or is it something that you added recently in your pro career?
No. So once I got to my gym, SoCal Fight Factory, like they're real boxing heavy, real striking heavy. And like the veteran, I mean, we're dealing with some veteran boxers. So So when I would spar with them, like these are tools that they would use, and then they would show me, and they kind of put me on, like my boy Gio Saran, JR, who just won a fight in Mexico. Like these guys put me onto that. So like right when I started over there, like it was like body shots are a huge weapon, a huge underutilized tool, and quite frankly, it's okay. I'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, you have, man. I seen some. It opens up the head, man. Those hooks to the body, just that one. I don't remember exactly which fight it was, but you clipped a dude with the left hook, and he just went to sleep, dude. It was nasty.
Yeah. That was that last fight in Fresno at the Samar Center. Yeah.
That was beautiful, man. And going into this fight, a talking point a lot of people, will be discussing is the long layoff. You haven't fought since August 2019. Are you a believer in that ring rust, or is it a myth?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really believe in it too much, just because I've stayed in the competition. Like I've gone out sparring, I've gone out competing against people I didn't know. So it's like I've had that, oh, I don't know who this guy is and I got to figure him out type of thing the whole time. And I think I have an edge if anybody's like kind of thinking like that. Like if anyone's thinking I got ring rust, or they're counting me out in any way, or looking at my small record, like they're in for a surprise.
And you've competed for Combate many times, and one thing about those Combate guys that come in to the UFC, they are tough as hell. Hey, last weekend, 2 of the guys from Combate, tough as nails, man. What is it about the competition over there? And you've been knocking those dudes out.
Yeah, man. I think it's that like Latin American, like you're gonna have to get me out of here. Like I'm not giving up, type of mentality. And honestly, I'm thankful for that, because I feel like that kind of mentality made me raise my mentality. Like I got to get you out of there, like plain and simple. I'm not gonna try to win by points. I'm gonna try to finish this fight.
Now you go from the ruckus crowd of Combate to the empty UFC Apex. Have you thought about that yet? Have you thought about competing with nobody in the crowd? And also, could it be an advantage for a debut fighter?
Yeah. Okay. So I thought about this a lot, actually. And I thought, okay, so this is we're in a pandemic right now. How many lifetimes are you in a pandemic and you're able to compete in something, fight, let alone compete in the UFC? So I thought about it, and I was like, I've always, like, from the start, I was like, man, I just want to fight during this time. I want to weigh in with the mask. I want the whole thing. I want the whole weird vibe, the empty room, fighting with no crowd, silence. And so you could just hear the cracks. And I think it's an advantage for me, because I won't have a crowd to drown out my coaches. I won't have a crowd to drown out my corner at all. And I believe strongly and heavily in my corner, and I believe strongly and heavily in my abilities.
You have only went to the judges once in your pro career. When you envision your debut, how do you see it happening?
I see it happening. I'm getting my hand raised by finish.
All right, man. March 20th, UFC Fight Night. It's getting so close. Las Vegas. It's going to be incredible. Thank you so much, Jesse, for the time, and good luck and all the best for 2021.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you.